Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel, Excel with Solo. Here we share techniques, tips, and tricks of Microsoft Excel.
In this video, we'll be learning how to transform data from the raw form into a form that can be used for effective analysis. And the tool we are going to be using is Power Query. Power Query is a tool that is available by default after 2013. But if you're using 2013 or 2010, you have to download the Power Query as an add-in to be installed in your Office application. So to do this, we are going to use this sample data from a chocolate manufacturing company. So what they have here is they have the name of customers in this column B, the dates the customers bought whatever they buy or they have bought in column A, the chocolate types in this row one, and under it in row two, you have the prices of each of the chocolate types. All right. Then somewhere in the middle of all that, you have the quantity of chocolate purchased by date, by customer, and of course, the way it is, it cannot be used for anything effective as far as data analysis is concerned, unless it is transformed to this format that you are looking at right now. So in this format, you have the date column separate, you have the customer's name separate in a column, you have the chocolate type, the quantity, and the price of each unit of chocolate. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to data and start from scratch to generate this data. This is looking this way and turn it to something looking like this. So here is our raw data, right? So this data is just the way it is, okay? Spanning from column A to column M and different kind of chocolates here. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to convert this data into a table. I'm going to press Ctrl T to achieve that. Now, when you convert to a table, it's going to ask you if your table has headers, and my table definitely has headers. So I'm saying okay. Now, if you examine this data, what I see first of all is that I have two sets of information that are entwined into one. So the first set of information I can see here is the record or data that has to do with the product. So because I have the product name and the product type, product name and the cost, product name and the price, product name and the price, and all or not like that. I also can see here the sales information. So I can see the date of the sales, the name of the customer, and the product the customer buys. Now, if you're going to use, if you have your data in the proper way, you can actually have your sales data on one table and have your product data on the other table and use VLOOKUP to match them. However, you can do all of this going forward in Power Query. So I've converted this to a table as you've seen earlier. So let's go to Power Query by going to the data tab, go to the from table or range option, click on that, and to open us up to the Power Query editor. So the first thing we're going to look at is the first thing we'll see right away in the Power Query editor is the fact that um, we don't need this date column and name of customers column to generate the first table we are going to try to generate. So we'll take out these two columns right away, remove columns. All right. So what we now have is the names of the chocolate as the headings, the price on the first row, and the quantity purchased on the other rows. What we actually need is the names of the chocolates and the price of each one of them. So to achieve this, we're going to downgrade these chocolate names from being the heading of this table to being the first row, and that is done this way. So use headers as first row. So we now have our chocolate names as the first row in this table. Next thing is to remove the quantity sold as we don't need them. So we're going to go to home and say keep rows. Which rows do we want to keep? We want to keep the top two rows. Top two rows. The rows that contain the names of the chocolate and the price of each chocolate. So we now have our two rows here. So the next thing we're going to do is to transpose this data such that we have the chocolate names in one column and we have the price in the column right beside it. And so we transpose, and that's what we have. So let's label this column appropriately. We call it chocolate chocolate type. Then here we have the price. Of course, let's call this table um, chocolate list. Okay, so let me change this here. Chocolate list. All right, so that said, we can now go and load, but instead of loading it to a sheet, we're going to load to as connections only. So just create only connections, and we have that table as a connection. So the next thing now is to create a table from here that deals with the sales. So the same method, we go to the data tab and say get from table and data, right? So once this is loaded, we are going to remove the price of each of the chocolates because we don't need it in this particular table. So remove rows, we're going to remove the first row that contains the price of the chocolate types that we have in this table. So the next thing we need to do is to pivot these chocolate types such that for each chocolate we have the quantity purchased by each customer on each date. So let me do it so that you can understand what I'm saying better. Come here, shift, and we select all the columns that has the chocolate types in them. I will go to transform, say on pivot columns. And what that will simply do is to put our chocolate types in one column and put the price of those chocolates in, or the quantity of those chocolates purchased in the next column. So let me quickly relabel this column here and call it chocolate type. And I'll call this quantity, right? So if you look closely at this date here, it's more like a text. So we're going to transform this, say transform to date only so that we have the date in the way it should be. So the same thing we did for that one, for the first one, we're going to change this table name to sales data. Excuse me. To sales data, and we'll load to as connection only. Create connection to that table. All right. So it's beginning to make sense already. So next thing is to merge these two tables, and to have them merged, we'll go again the data, but instead of clicking on from table and range this time around, we're going to go to get data. We're going to click on combine queries and click on merge. All right, so that will take us to the Power Query Editor once again. I mean, the merge dialog box. So we're going to pick the tables that we need. So the first table is sales data, and the second table is chocolate list. All right, so if you check the kind of join we have here, we're going to say we're going to join all the columns from the first table and the matching record from the second table. So we are going to take all of this. So what's the matching record? The matching column here is the chocolate type, and this is chocolate type. So once we get our data right, you will see a check mark here, a green check mark showing that what we have done is correct, that there's no syntax error in what we have done. Click that and it took us back to the Power Query editor once again. And so what you're going to have here is all the columns from the sales data and a column that says chocolate list. Now everything here is saying table, 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 table. So if you check the table, each of this table, what you have is the chocolate type and the price. So what we need to do here is to unbundle this particular column by clicking on this double-sided arrow here. When I click on this, you find that you have the column for the chocolate type and the column for the price both checked. But what we actually need is a column for the price. So we uncheck the one for the chocolate type and click OK. And that automatically gives us our date, name of customers, chocolate type, the quantity, and the price of the chocolate. So let's quickly rename this column and call it price. And if you check, you will see here that this data type is text in nature, so we cannot convert it to whole number. And so our data type is okay. Now I'm going to call this transformed data, and I can go ahead and load this to a worksheet. So I'm going to do close and load, and it's going to load to a worksheet. And that's there for us, our transform data from the raw form to a form that is viably usable for data analysis. All right. Now, one of the other benefits that comes from using um, Power Query for this kind of assignment is that if this table, this record changes for any reason, let's say for instance, a new customer came and bought something new. So we're going to say 27th of January of last year, 2022, a customer came and the customer's name is Adeola. Sorry, let me put that in caps, all caps. Adeola Elori. And he likes the dark chocolates and bought 5 of that. He also bought, what else did he buy? The bittersweet chocolate. Let's zoom in on that. He bought the bittersweet chocolate and bought 50 of that. All right. So what we just simply need to do is go to our transform data, go to the data tab and click refresh all, and you will see that our new person, new customer, which is Adeola Ilori, that bought 5 dark chocolate and 50 bitter chocolate, has been added. But what if we now have a new chocolate type that we want to add to it? So we have the chocolate with salt, chocolate with salt. That's the name of that chocolate there. So we have chocolate with salt, chocolate with salt, and it sells for how much? It sells for 4531. All right. So who bought it? Who bought it? Okay, Adeola Lori bought. Let's say Adeola Lori bought 6 of those, and somebody else bought Adeola Lori bought 6 of those, and somebody else bought like 7 of those. Let's go to our data and we hit refresh and you see it added to it, chocolate with salt. So Power Query helps you such that when your data changes, it automatically updates your table. I hope this video has been helpful. Please, if that is the case, kindly click our subscribe button if you have not done so. Also hit notification bell so that I can get notified when we post new content to our YouTube video, to our YouTube channel. Sorry. All right. Have a very nice one. Bye bye.